Times are changing in the British media landscape with channels like mine and many others. And first of all, I'd like to thank you for your support if you've subscribed and watch my videos. But I know that a lot of you are watching alternatives on YouTube, including from this guy, Andre Walker. Delighted to say Andre is my guest today on the channel. Andre, how are you, mate?
I'm fantastic, and I'm so proud to be on this channel. This is one of the first other channels I've ever been on, and you've just got to nearly 50,000 subscribers. It's an absolute testament to your ability. But also, I have to say, I was a big fan of West Monster as well. You know, you've done so much for I think this movement and also for the media. It's phenomenal. So proud to see you doing so well.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you, Andre. I mean, I'm looking at the alternatives now to mainstream media. Of course, your channel growing rapidly as well. I'd like to ask you, first of all, Andre, I know, as I said, from the comments on my channel before, that a lot of people that watch my videos also watch yours, but I'm sure a lot don't. I'm sure there's some people that watch yours that don't watch mine as well. What made you start your YouTube channel? What can people expect on your channel for those who haven't watched previous videos?
Well, look, there's two reasons I started my channel. There's one that's less interesting and one that's kind of more interesting. So the less interesting one is just the immediate thing. My mother had fallen ill, and I was just stuck where I am now, up north, away from where I normally live in Windsor. So that was the immediate thing. But I think what you're driving at is the wider point. And I think the wider point was this, and I'll be totally honest with you. You know, I've been in journalism ever since I founded Breitbart London with Raheem Kassam, James Delingpole and Steve Bannon, no doubt people that you know as well. And I found it incredibly difficult because, you know, every time you were attempting to get bookings on things like Sky and the BBC, you know, they always wanted the kind of the renter conservative, the kind of fake person, you know, the people who kind of always say, you know, I'm the acceptable face of the conservative movement, you know, and so I always felt very frustrated by how hard it was to get work, bluntly. And so I just thought, you know, if we're going to do this, if we're going to take back control of the media in the way we took back control of politics, we've got to do it by setting up our own system and by setting up our own media outlets. Now, I don't think we are where we need to be, simply because I think having the individual kind of Andre Walker channel, Michael Heaver channel, Maya Toosey channel, I don't know, Nigel Farage channel isn't going to take on the likes of Sky and the BBC. But I think what is important to do is to build up the audience for this and to show that it's viable. And I think that is what we're starting to do.
Andre, in your experience in your channel, what are the sort of issues that are really, you know, you're finding that your audience really cares about? Because I think one of the things I really enjoy through my channel is that ability to, you know, if the mainstream media largely ignore a story, as they often do with positive Brexit stories, we have that ability and empowerment to actually highlight things that may otherwise go under the radar. What sort of issues are you finding that people really care about?
Well, look, my channel's an eclectic mix because there's videos on there with 700,000 views and some with 2,500. So some things are more popular than others. But you're absolutely right. The truth is that the political establishment left the country behind, didn't they? They decided to do exactly what the country didn't want. And the media establishment is exactly the same. Do you know, I did a top 10 early advantages of Brexit. And do you know how I got it? I literally just typed into Google, despite Brexit, and all this stuff came up saying, you know, property market booms despite Brexit, fintech surviving despite Brexit, and all the rest of it. And so I think that is a big thing. But I really don't think that Brexit's popular. I think you characterized it right. I think it's the idea of talking up the country, the idea that we can be successful, the idea that we can be a free, independent and sovereign nation. It's, you know, to most people, Brexit is just an obvious thing. But I'll tell you, so I think people like us are thinking, well, what is the next big thing? I genuinely think this defund the BBC thing is absolutely huge. I think people are so angry. You know, when I turn on Newsnight used to be a respected brand, but now it's just one or two lefties hanging around, each earning 150, 200,000 a year, don't really care, appeal to an incredibly small audience. And so nobody watches this stuff, but people are absolutely raking it in. And I just find it so frustrating. And I know people on the other end find it frustrating because from my point of view, people like us really struggle to make this a financial success. Whereas, of course, people who are ratings losers like Newsnight make an absolute fortune, and that's from my point of view. But of course, from the public's point of view, they're paying £157 or whatever it is to fund all of these idiots to produce TV that no one watches.
Yeah, I mean, amazing, Andre. I did a video recently that found that the BBC license fees, their income from the BBC license fee has fallen by over £300 million in about 2 years. And I just think, again, this is one of those, as with Brexit, it's one of those, as you say, the defund the BBC campaign, it's one of those issues that may not be very fashionable yet in Westminster, but around the country, and we see polling from YouGov, even from Ofcom reports that show that public support for the BBC licence fee it is dropping through the floor, as is the BBC licence fee income. What do you make of that?
Yeah, well, look, it's just completely outdated. The BBC, I think, would improve if you got rid of the license fee, because suddenly it would be forced to actually appeal to its viewers. At the moment, it's not interesting. But I think that the BBC, their behaviour has been so horrendous. But I'll tell you, people watching this channel and people watching my channel think that the problem with the BBC is political bias. I will tell you, that place is rotten to the core, and it cuts far deeper than just bias.
I think one of the reasons, Andre, that I'm certainly watching TV news less and less at the moment is because of the tone of it as well. I just find it all very downbeat about the country, downbeat about our prospects moving forward. I guess a lot of that based around Brexit, but I just find a lot of it very negative. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, I think so. Well, it's a really interesting thing about Britain, isn't it? Because we are one of the few countries in the world where the elite effectively hate the country. If you listen to people in the dinner parties of Hampstead, they're always talking down the English, how terrible they are, and what lagerlouts we are abroad, and how uncultured the British people are. It's really interesting. I've always thought that, and this may go back, to the Norman invasion of 1066, but I've always thought that the elite in Britain would rather be French than they would be English, and they kind of look down on the English. And so you see that reflected in the TV news, you see it reflected in the radio, you see it reflected at the BBC. But I'll tell you something, I really, really like the British people. And I'll tell you the thing that always makes me laugh is the way that the elite can't understand why British people like Nigel Farage. Because in reality, the guy is just an authentic British person, and people really like that.
Now, Andre, I've got to ask you, I like to be optimistic, and I think certainly with channels like yours, channels like mine on YouTube, helping to provide that alternative to mainstream media, the future is bright. But one thing I have to ask you about is GB News. I know there's a lot of interest in it, certainly from a lot of people that watch my channel, looking for that TV news alternative. We now know it's going to be available to about 96% of British households. We now know that it's going to be available on Freeview and other such sort of platforms, which will make it widely available. And we know that they've just launched a national recruitment drive to employ 140 people nationwide. Andre, how do you assess GB News? Are you excited?
Well, what about? Well, I'm thinking of applying for a job. I don't know, actually. I mean, from a personal point of view, I don't know what you think about trying to work for them, because, on the one hand, I absolutely love what I'm doing, but it is such a fascinating project. It'd be a real shame to shut down my YouTube channel in exchange for working for them. Look, I think that there is a lack of plurality in the media market, and that's been true for an incredibly long time. I don't know whether it's going to be possible to make it profitable to do something on that scale. I actually just wonder whether you'd be better, rather than spending the sort of 50 million on these top level big studios, working from the bottom like you and I are doing. But nonetheless, I mean, I think it is a great thing. I think it's an important thing. But, if GB News succeeds, it will be at Sky News' expense. And Sky News seems comfortable with that. I just don't get it myself.
Well, Andre, one thing's for sure, the growth of your channel, thanks to my supporters here on my channel, I think the future of British media is changing quite rapidly in a positive way. I'll put a link to your channel in the top pinned comment, guys. So if you're not already subscribed to Andre's channel, make sure you go and do that. I think I'm going to be on Andre's channel soon, and hopefully we can work together in the future, providing that alternative to mainstream media. Andre, thanks for being on the channel today.
Thank you.